evening and welcome to Yoga Flow 40 tonight. We're going to be working on a couple of different things. Like I mentioned earlier in the week, we're going to be working on downward dog, which is one of the foundational moves, a base pose, and a lot of people overthink it, myself included. And it's one of those things where you hate it at first and then you start to like it. Okay, but there's a lot of steps in between and there's a lot to the pose that I want to get everybody a little familiar with the way I learned how to do it, which really helped me. I have a lot of arthritis and stiffness in my neck and spine. So I've kind of learned to reteach myself some of the moves and poses to accommodate those things. It doesn't mean I can't do them, just like any limitations that you might have, it doesn't mean you can't do them. It just means that you need to take a different approach. So after we go through our warm-up and our a few nice poses, we're going to move into spending a few minutes on downward dog, and I'm going to show you a few different ways that you can do it, and how you can release from the pose when you need to take a moment and then easily get back into it. And we're going to go from there. Also tonight, at the end of class, we're going to do a little bit deeper guided meditation. And I will be making videos individually of different meditations that you can just watch at any time. But this one tonight is a little bit more involved, and I hope that you're able to enjoy it. So let's get started. Let's ground ourselves in a simple cross-legged pose, keeping those sitting bones planted into the ground, hands released on the legs. Try to keep that spine nice and straight. Just imagine every vertebrae of your spine completely lined up. Keeping those shoulders back, the chest open. And let's just take a couple of nice deep breaths here. We're going to do a little bit of a different breathing technique tonight, which was taught to me when I was going through a lot of anxiety and the such. And I found it really helpful at any time, especially if you are anxious. It's a great way to just help you focus on your breath only, but make the most of your breath at the same time. And it's just referred to as square breathing. So all we're going to do is let the hands relax, keep that nice relaxed posture, but firmly grounded. And each inhale and exhale, we're going to make in the same increments of time. Okay, so we're going to start with a 2 count. So we're going to inhale for 2, exhale for 2. The key in yoga is to make the most out of your exhales. The exhales are when you release, it's when you get rid of the crap that you don't want. So we're going to take each exhale and try to make the most that we can out of it and get rid of as much as we can. So a great way to start practicing that is through this square breathing. So I want you to do this just counting to yourself, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but mentally make note. You're going to inhale for 2, exhale for 2. Okay, we're going to start with that for about a minute. And I want you just to think of nothing, focus on nothing other than you're counting the simple 1, 2, inhale, 1, 2, exhale. Okay. Once you're comfortable with that, tonight the furthest that we're gonna go is 3 counts, but we're gonna start expanding every time that we do this square breathing technique. So after you finish your set of 2 count inhales, 2 count exhales, we're just gonna add it, move it up to 3. So we're gonna inhale for 3, exhale for 3. Now, as you keep doing this, inhaling 3, exhaling 3, I want you to pay attention on what's going on with your belly, with your chest, with your diaphragm, and your whole body. The more that we exhale, the more we release, the more not just emotion or stress-wise, but you can actually feel your shoulders, your back, your whole body releasing every time you exhale. So let's take a few more of those 3 counts. And then relax. Now that might feel a little unnatural or awkward at first, and that's fine. It's just one of the many techniques that we're going to go through in this program to help you really alleviate those short, shallow breaths and really start engaging with and into your breath to make the most out of those inhales and exhales. All right, so from here, we're going to take a nice deep breath in, bring the arms overhead. And exhale, release. One more time, inhale, arms up. Exhale, release. Let the hands rest back on the legs. Take a nice deep breath in. On that exhale, we're going to move that left hand to the right knee, left hand behind you. If you can, look over that right shoulder. If it's straining your neck, you can look to the side or forward. And back to center. And take that right hand to the left knee, left hand behind you. Same thing here, just go to your comfort level, what your back and neck allow. And back to center. From here, we're going to come over onto hands and knees. Taking a minute again just to center yourself. Tonight we're going to start incorporating the flow of the breath with movement. Okay, so we're going to start just by doing clockwise circles. And all you need to do, you want to keep your knees and your hands planted and just move the torso, the legs, the butt, everything else, but keep those hands and knees stationary. Now, we're going to slowly take an inhale, halfway through, exhale, back. Inhale, forward, exhale, back. And just do a few more of these at your own pace. Your breathing rhythm is going to be different than anyone else's, and that's fine. You can also make your circles as big or as small as you want. And return to center. And now we're going to do that same thing counterclockwise. So at your own pace with your breath, we're going to be inhaling to back, exhale, back to the front. Inhale to the back, exhale to the front. And do about 4 more of these at your own pace. And when you're done, just come back to center. And we're gonna get a really good overall stretch and warm up for the body just by doing our extensions. So extend that right arm forward and the left leg backward. Take a few deep breaths here. Each time you do this, you're helping to strengthen the spine, the core, and you're teaching your body how to balance. And release. And then we're going to extend that left arm forward and the right leg back. And release. And then come back, go ahead and sit back on those heels. Again, anytime you're doing child pose, feel free to put a pillow or a booster between your butt and your ankles. Spread those knees as far as you need. And then we're just gonna bring those arms forward. And what I want you to focus on tonight is each time you exhale to really try to walk those fingertips out a little further, get a little deeper stretch for that spine. And then very slowly, we're just gonna walk our hands back to the center. We're gonna come back to the hands and knees. From here, we're gonna push ourselves up, walk the feet forward, and come into a standing forward bend. And we're gonna do a couple of moves that we will be doing when we start doing our sun salutations. So from here, let the arms drop like normal. And then walk them towards your feet. You can grab onto your ankles, your knees, your shins, wherever you're comfortable in your forward bend. And then we're gonna move the hands up to the thighs and try to flatten that back. And just take a couple of nice deep breaths here. And then come back into the forward bend. This is the part of the move where you're arching your back more and you feel that curvature. And then when you bring your hands up to the thighs and keep a flat back, this is where that back, you should be able to balance a coffee cup on there, okay? One more time, let's come down into that forward bend. And then bring the hands up into the flat back. And from here, come all the way up. We're gonna come into our mountain pose, grounding those feet, grounding those toes, keeping the whole body aligned. So knees over the ankles, hips over the knees, shoulders over the hips. Relax those shoulders back. We're gonna take a deep breath in, overhead. Take that left wrist in the right hand and stretch to the right, opening the whole left side of the body. Back to center and release. And we're going to take a deep breath in, overhead, exhaling that right wrist into the left hand, stretching all the way to the left as much as you can. And back to center, release. We're going to spread the feet a little wider than shoulder width. We're going to do a couple of forward bends with some gentle twisting tonight so that we can continue to work on creating flexibility in our spine. So we're going to take a deep breath in, bring those arms overhead. On the exhale, bring the arms to the side and just swan dive down into a forward bend. Now it's fine if you cannot touch the floor here. If you get as far as your knees or your ankles, it doesn't matter, okay? And from here, we're going to keep that right hand on wherever it can be closest to the floor, and then just extend that left arm up. Now, if you're not able to get down to the floor, this is where you can just keep that right hand on the right leg and stretch up like that, okay? Wherever you're at is where you are, it's fine. And then come back to center. Same thing on the other side, the left hand down, right arm up. Also, another way to do this, if you're having some tightness and tensing up in the spine and the neck, you can bend your knees and bring the hand down to do it, or you can just bring that left hand up to the straight leg. So again, you just do what feels the best for your body. Bring that right arm down, slowly roll yourself back up. And we're gonna turn the right foot out, and we're gonna keep that left heel planted and just turn the left toes in slightly. And from here, we're gonna take our hips, rotating over the front of that right leg. And we're just gonna walk ourselves down over that right leg, just to where you feel a good stretch. It doesn't matter if you get down to your foot or if you're up here. Just listen to your body. And then very slowly come back up. Turn that right heel, plant the right heel, turn those right toes out, turn the left toes to the side, plant and center the torso and the hips directly over towards that left leg. And then slowly again, walk yourself down. And just breathe. Now on each exhale is the time to explore getting a little deeper into the pose. So use your inhales as your strength and your exhales as your movement, okay? One more nice deep breath here. And then we're gonna slowly roll ourselves up. Turn both feet forward, walk those feet together. We're gonna practice our tree tonight again, taking it to your level of comfort, but don't be afraid to push yourself a little bit. Often with balancing poses, especially tree, fear is the biggest trigger that keeps us from holding back. It keeps us holding back, it keeps us from getting into the full pose, it keeps us from doing what we're actually capable of doing, okay? So we're gonna start by bringing that left heel, placing it against that right leg, and just bring the hands to the hips, and just get a feel for where you're feeling out of balance, or if you're feeling like the weight is shifting to one side or another. And then if this is where you're comfortable today, bring the hands to the chest or overhead. If you want to come into full tree, we're going to take that left foot against the right leg. Be close enough to something that you have it there for balance. If you want or need it, you can keep the hands on the hips, extended to the side, overhead, or at the heart. And it's okay to fall out. It's also okay if you're here and you need to reach out for something. That's why it's always good to practice with something close to you that you can do that. As we go on, you won't need to rely on that, but for right now, it's okay to step out, come back in. And then we're gonna release that left leg down. Do the same with the right. Right heel against that left leg, letting the hips and the front of the body open, bringing the hands to the hips. If this is where you want to stay, go ahead and bring those arms overhead or at the chest. If you want to move on, bring that right leg up. Hands to the chest, to the side, or overhead. And release. Now, as I mentioned before, with tree and any of the balancing poses, you're gonna have one side that's better than the other. You're also gonna have better days than others. So don't get discouraged, just keep moving with it and keep doing it. The more you practice, the more it becomes muscle memory for your body, and the more your body will just automatically settle into that. Okay, we're gonna take a deep breath in, bring the arms overhead. Exhale, come down to a standing forward bend. From here, come down into a squat pose. Again, keep the hands in front of you until you feel stable. You can bring the hands to the knees if you feel ready. The only thing I want you to focus on if you're doing this is to keep that spine as straight as possible, okay? Because this is all about decompressing the spine, releasing the weight of the vertebrae, and this is our natural form of doing any kind of decompression. So if anytime you feel out of balance here, bring both or one hand down and then come back in. And we're going to take a couple more nice deep breaths here. And then we're going to bring the hands down and come down to a sitting pose. Bringing those feet together, bringing the hands to the ankles. And we're just going to really stretch out that spine. Stretch out the legs, the hips, the hip flexors, and just focus this time on each exhale, bringing your legs closer to the ground, okay? And just go at your own pace with these. We're going to take a few breaths here tonight. And then we're just going to move the hands up to the toes, bring the elbows down, and just continue the stretch. Doing this allows our hip flexors to open up and release more, and it helps bring our legs a little bit closer to the ground. And then slowly come back up. We're going to extend both legs out in front with the feet flexed so the toes are facing the ceiling. Spine is nice and straight. Get those sitting bones grounded into the floor. We're going to inhale both arms up. On the exhale, we're just going to come forward into a fold. Again, wherever you can reach, your feet, your ankles, your shins, your thighs, it doesn't matter. We're just going to take a nice few breaths here. And then very slowly come back up. We're going to keep the right leg extended. Take that left leg, bend it down, bringing the left foot to the leg. One thing I want to point out when we're doing the one-legged versions of these stretches is that you're going to feel like either one or both sides is not cooperating with you and keeps trying to pop up, and that's okay. That's all in the hip flexors and the hips. So the more that we train those muscles to release and to elongate and stretch, the more you're going to be able to feel a relaxation here instead of a spring trying to get you back up. So let's take that deep breath. Inhale, come down, exhaling over the leg again, wherever you can, and just relax. And then slowly walk the hands back up and switch sides. So we're going to extend that left leg out and bend that right leg down. Inhale, arms up, and exhale, slowly come down over that left leg and just relax into it. And then very slowly come back up. And we're going to move back into tabletop or hands and knees. And from here, we're going to start our downward dog progression. And I want you just to be patient and open with yourself and don't get frustrated if your heels are perfectly flat on the floor, because mine aren't going to be flat on the floor. Especially days where I've been running or doing something else. I carry a lot of tension back there, and it's not about how flat you can get your feet or how perfect you can look in the pose. It's about the way that it affects your body. So in downward dog, we're focusing on strength, we're focusing on balance, and we're focusing on really reaching in and taking in that inner strength that we have to be able to hold it and last through it. When you're coming into a downward dog, from this position, all you need to do is put your toes on the ground, push up, and from here, this is where you want to walk yourself back a little bit, and this is where it'll come. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be beautiful, okay? It's not important. You want to focus on a couple of things. One is pressing down through the backs of your legs, through the heels. Even if they're this far off the ground, it's okay, all right? It's the motion of pressing through the back of those legs. It's the motion of pressing away from your hands, just like you were pushing up from the floor and then you grounding your heels. Okay, we're gonna take one more nice deep breath here. And then we're gonna come down to the knees. Now, the first few times you do that, or even if you've been doing it forever and you haven't for a while, it is intense. It does take a lot of strength, mentally and physically, because our minds try to talk us out of a lot of things that our bodies can actually do. And I promise you can do more than you think you can. Okay? So when you're doing a series of poses or an extended stay in downward dog, the best way to come out of it and release is to come into child's pose. So let's come back up into downward dog. And to release, to take a break, just come down to the knees. If you feel like you really need to relax and let go of that for a moment, that's when we sit back on the heels, come back into child's pose. Come back up, back to the hands and knees, back up into downward dog, pressing those heels down, pressing away from the hands so your pinkies should feel like they're able to float. And then release to the knees. And we're just going to pause here for a few seconds, let our body relax. It's better to take the time to do this pose gradually than just try to muscle it out right away. It's better for your body, and your body will learn faster if you take it nice and slow. So listen to your body. When you're up and downward dog and it's telling you to stop and you feel that you need to, come down to the knees, even if it's for a second. Like I said, if you need a longer break, come back all the way into child's pose. That's kind of a nice releasing pose and back up. So let's come back into downward dog. And we're gonna stay here for a couple of breaths. And anytime you need, feel free to come down to the legs or the knees. And then slowly come back down to the knees. Sit back on those heels, take a deep breath in, and then come back into child's pose, extending those arms forward, rewarding yourself for completing that. And then very slowly bring the hands back up. We're going to come into a simple cross-legged pose. And now as we do this guided meditation tonight, you can stay seated if you feel that you get more relaxed or you're more comfortable or focused lying down. Feel free to lie down on your back at any time. The focus of our meditation tonight is to engage all of the senses to allow ourselves to kind of explore meditation a little bit further. Okay, so we've been practicing with tuning into the body by doing our gradual relaxation from the toes to the head. We've been working on the belly breathing, and tonight we're just going to take it a step further and move into engaging all of the senses as well. And don't feel overwhelmed or disappointed if it doesn't work for you the first couple of times. It takes practice. And if you have a lot going on in your mind, it's going to take longer than what the time we have to allow for that to happen. So this is something you can practice on your own time whenever you need to. And it's an excellent way to kind of get in tune with your body, engaging everything and being at peace. Okay, so we're going to start just letting those hands rest on the body. Go ahead, if you need a pillow or a booster to put under your butt to be comfortable, you can. And like I said, if you would rather be reclined on your back, that's perfectly fine. We're just going to keep the eyes closed. And just start by taking a few deep breaths in and exhaling. And I want you just to think about a place that you're comfortable at, that you're happy at, that kind of feeds your soul. It could be a place in your home, it could be a beach, it could be a field, a farm, anything. And I want you just to take a moment and place yourself there and try to remove any distractions. So try to remove any other people, any other loud noises, or any kind of distraction. It's just you sitting in this place of comfort. And as you acclimate and get a good idea of where you are, I want you to engage your sense of smell. So if you're at the beach, I want you to smell that salt water. I want you to smell the traces that are left in the sand. I want you to smell the air. If you're at a lake, smell the smells that you smell at a lake. Becoming aware of anything in the distance, maybe a flower, anything that connects you deeper to where you're at. And then I want you to engage your hearing. And I want you to listen to all the sounds around you, whether that be waves gently lapping onto the shore. Maybe it's birds. Maybe it's the gentle noise of the breeze growing or blowing through the grass or the reeds, wherever you are. And then I want you to engage your sight and just become aware of your surroundings. Do you see the sun? Is it dark? Is it gentle waters? Is it waves? Take a moment here and just take it all in. Are you by mountains? Is there any rocky cliffs? Are you in a field? Are there wildflowers? Is there a river? And then I want you to engage in the sense of touch. So I want you to be able to touch where you are seated or lying. Is it in the grass? Is it in the sand? Is it in a boat or a swing on the porch? Feel the breeze touching your skin. Feel if it's warm or if it's cool. And I want you just to stay here for a moment, letting go of where you physically are and coming to this place of relaxation and contentment. And as you're starting to come out of this, I want you just to kind of move your fingers and toes, reacclimate to where you currently are, not forgetting where you were, just coming back to where you are now. And when you feel ready to be back where you are, slowly open the eyes and just take that place where you were, keep it in your mind, keep it in your heart, and whenever you need to go there, you have the ability to, whether you have a minute or 10 minutes, and it does get easier as you go along with it. It just takes practice. So let's end our practice by taking a nice deep inhale up, bringing the arms up, exhaling those arms down, bending at the elbows, bringing the hands to the heart. Thank you for joining with me on this practice. Namaste.